When was the last time you asked yourself, am I truly putting myself first? Think about it for a moment. How often do you push your own needs aside, silence your own voice, or ignore your own dreams just to meet the expectations of others? Deep down, you know the truth. Your energy is drained, your focus is scattered, and your heart longs for something more. But here's the reality most people never want to face. No one else is going to build your life for you. No one else is going to put in the hours, fight the battles, or carry the weight of your dreams. That responsibility will always belong to you. And that's why the first step to transformation begins with a decision to finally make yourself a priority. For too long, you may have been living in a cycle of pleasing others, chasing approval, or comparing yourself to people who seem ahead. But understand this, comparison steals your energy, and approval will never fill the emptiness you feel inside. What will fill you is progress. What will ignite you is growth. And that only happens when you turn your attention inward, block out the noise, and decide that your time, your goals, and your future are worth every ounce of effort you can give. When you focus on yourself, you give yourself permission to evolve. You allow your mind to strengthen, your confidence to rise, and your dreams to take root. And when you work hard in silence, without needing the validation of an audience, you build something far more powerful than applause. You build self-respect. That quiet pride, that deep inner knowing that you didn't wait for someone else's permission to grow becomes your fuel. This journey isn't about ego, it's about survival. It's about refusing to waste your limited time on earth living a version of life that doesn't belong to you. Every time you delay, every time you look away from your own priorities, you rob yourself of progress. But every time you show up for yourself, even in small ways, you create momentum. And momentum is unstoppable. It carries you forward. It compounds your effort, and it reminds you that you are capable of far more than you imagined. So ask yourself now, are you ready to stop dimming your own light just to make others comfortable? Are you ready to claim your space, your growth, and your potential? If the answer is yes, then stay with me, because what comes next is not just motivation, it's transformation. You're going to see why silence is strength, why discipline is freedom, and why making yourself your priority is the only path to real power. By the end of this, you won't just feel inspired, you'll feel a shift inside you, a clarity that tells you it's time to stop waiting and start moving, a conviction that whispers, this is my moment, and when that moment takes hold, nothing and no one will be able to stop you. Because the truth is simple. When you focus on yourself, when you work hard without seeking attention, when you become your own priority, you step into the life you were meant to live, and that life is waiting for you right now. The loudest victories are not the ones the world applauds. The loudest victories are the quiet ones, the ones you win when no one is watching, when you decide to keep moving forward despite the weight of doubt pressing against your chest. That is the moment when true strength is born. Because strength is not about shouting your progress. It is not about showing off the grind. It is about having the discipline to keep your head down and the vision to keep going, even when no one notices, even when the recognition you secretly crave never comes. That kind of commitment shapes character. That kind of silence builds unshakable confidence. Think about how much energy people waste announcing every small step, trying to prove themselves to strangers who barely care. Every second spent chasing approval is a second stolen from progress. But when you choose silence, you protect your energy. You stop living for likes, applause, or validation, and you start living for results. You stop needing the world to see you working, and you begin to crave the feeling of becoming. That shift is everything. Because one day, the same people who overlooked you will look up and realize they can't ignore you anymore. Silence does not mean weakness. Silence means focus. It means you are no longer distracted by the noise of the crowd. You are no longer bending under the weight of their opinions. You are channeling every ounce of strength into building the life you deserve. The irony is, the less you talk, the more you create. The less you broadcast, the more you achieve. And achievements don't need a stage. They speak for themselves. They speak in the way your presence changes, in the way your confidence grows, in the way you carry yourself with quiet certainty. There is a deeper freedom in working without needing applause. It frees you from comparison. It frees you from impatience. It frees you from the anxiety of proving yourself too soon. Because greatness takes time. Seeds don't shout while they're underground. They break through only after silent seasons of growth. You are no different. Your silent seasons are not empty. They are sacred. They are where the roots of your future are being built, where the strength you'll need tomorrow is quietly forming today. This is why patience matters. This is why discipline matters. Not because the world will immediately reward you, but because the work you do in silence is sculpting you into someone who cannot be ignored. And when that day comes, you will not need to speak loudly. Your results will speak louder than anything you could ever say. They will command respect, not demand it. They will draw attention naturally, without you having to beg for it. So do not fear the silence. Do not mistake it for insignificance. Silence is where warriors are forged. Silence is where leaders are built. Silence is where you prove to yourself, and only to yourself, that you are capable of more than the world ever imagined. And when the silence finally breaks, it will not be because you asked for attention. It will be because your progress made it impossible to ignore. That is the power of working for yourself, working in focus, working in silence. It is the foundation of every great transformation. The greatest battles you will ever fight are not against the outside world, but against the voice inside your own mind. That voice that whispers you are not enough. That voice that tells you to quit when the work gets heavy. That voice that tempts you to settle because chasing your full potential feels too uncertain, too far away. But understand this truth: your mind will either be your prison or your power, and the choice is always yours. When you begin to focus on yourself, when you commit to working in silence, you strip away the excuses. You confront the voice directly. You stop feeding it with distractions and approval seeking, and you begin feeding your growth with discipline and action. Every time you choose to show up instead of hide, every time you choose progress over comfort, you weaken the grip of self-doubt. You prove to yourself, even in small victories, that you are capable of more than the fear inside you wants you to believe. Most people are not stopped by lack of talent. They are stopped by lack of belief. They are trapped by the lies their own mind repeats to them every day. But belief does not come from wishing. Belief is earned through action. It is built brick by brick, rep after rep, day after day. And the beautiful thing is that once you start stacking those small wins, your confidence begins to grow silently, steadily, unshakably. Confidence is not noise. Confidence is proof you faced yourself, fought back, and kept moving anyway. This is why solitude is so powerful. When you are alone with your work, you cannot hide behind appearances. You cannot disguise effort with words. You either put in the hours, or you don't. You either rise to the challenge, or you surrender. That honesty with yourself is what separates those who transform from those who only dream. It is in the solitude, in the silence, that you discover what you are truly made of. Do not fear the discomfort of that fight. The discomfort is not punishment. It is growth. The resistance you feel is proof that you are stepping outside the boundaries of who you used to be. And if you can learn to sit with that discomfort, to embrace it rather than run from it, you will unlock levels of strength and resilience you never thought possible. Growth has always lived on the other side of struggle, and the silence is where that struggle becomes transformation. Remember this: the voice of doubt will never completely disappear. It will whisper at every stage of your journey. But each time you choose action over hesitation, each time you choose focus over distraction, you make that voice smaller. And as it shrinks, your power expands. Until one day, you look back and realize the prison you thought you were in was only an illusion. You were always free. You only needed to believe. And the way you believe it is not through words or empty promises. It is through showing up for yourself, working for yourself, and proving to yourself that you will not quit. That is how you silence the noise within. That is how you take control of your life. And that is how you transform fear into fuel, weakness into strength, and doubt into unshakable conviction. There will always be distractions pulling at your attention, voices demanding your time, and endless noise trying to convince you that your priorities should come last. But if you keep giving your energy away, if you keep allowing the world to dictate your focus, you will never have the strength to build the life you deserve. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot climb toward your future if you are carrying everyone else's weight while neglecting your own. The moment you decide to put yourself first is the moment you reclaim your power. Self-prioritization is not selfishness, it is survival. It is the recognition that if you do not guard your time, your energy, and your focus, no one else will. The truth is, people will always take as much as you are willing to give. They will keep asking, keep pulling, keep draining you until you are left with nothing. And when you are empty, when you are exhausted, who is left to fight for your dreams? Who is left to carry your vision? That is why the courage to say no, the courage to set boundaries, is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of love for yourself and for the future you are building. When you make yourself the priority, you send a powerful message to your own mind. I matter. My dreams matter. My growth matters. And when your mind believes this, everything changes. You begin to walk differently, with strength instead of hesitation. You begin to think differently, with clarity instead of confusion. You begin to work differently, with consistency instead of half-hearted effort. Prioritizing yourself is not about closing your heart to others. It is about opening your life to your highest potential. Think of the times you have said yes to things that drained you, yes to people who did not value you, yes to distractions that stole your progress. Each one of those moments took you further from who you were meant to become. But every time you choose yourself, every time you choose discipline over distraction, you step closer to that version of you who is strong, focused, and unshakable. That is the reward of self-prioritization, not just external success, but the deep internal pride of knowing you honored your own path. There is a quiet power in guarding your energy. You begin to notice how much clearer your thoughts are when you stop trying to meet everyone else's expectations. You begin to notice how much stronger your body feels when you dedicate time to growth instead of exhaustion. You begin to notice how much more alive your spirit feels when you stop apologizing for chasing your dreams. And once you experience that clarity, that strength, that fire, you will never want to go back to living on empty. So make the decision now. Draw the line. Choose yourself without guilt, without apology, without hesitation. Because when you rise, you inspire others to rise. When you grow, you show others what growth looks like. And when you finally become everything you were meant to be, you will understand that making yourself a priority was never selfish. It was the most generous thing you could have done. For your future, for your purpose, for the life that is waiting, for you to claim it. The truth is, the path of putting yourself first and working in silence will feel lonely at times. You will notice people pulling away. You will notice fewer invitations, fewer voices around you, and sometimes even less support from those you expected to stand beside you. But do not mistake that emptiness for loss. It is space. It is space being cleared for your growth. It is silence creating room for your focus. It is the universe teaching you to rely on your own strength instead of waiting for others to carry you. Loneliness is not your enemy. Loneliness is the birthplace of clarity. When the noise quiets, when the distractions fade, you are left face to face with yourself. And in that silence, you begin to see what you really want, what you really value, and what you are truly capable of. The moments where you feel alone are the same moments where you build the deepest connection with yourself. And once that bond is unshakable, nothing outside of you can break it. Most people fear solitude because it forces them to confront their own reflection. It forces them to face the truth of how much they have been settling, how often they have been hiding, how far they have drifted from their own potential. But the strong ones, the ones who rise, use solitude as fuel. They understand that silence is not emptiness, it is training, it is preparation, it is the sharpening of the mind and the strengthening of the soul. Every hour you spend working in silence is an investment. You may not see the return right away, but the results are compounding. They are building in the background, quietly, steadily, invisibly, and then one day, they break through in a way that no one can deny. That is why patience is so rare and discipline so powerful, because it requires faith. Faith that the hours you are giving now are creating the future you will live tomorrow. There is a deep freedom in no longer needing an audience. When you no longer crave applause, you are free to chase mastery. You are free to take risks, to make mistakes, to learn without shame. You are free to fail privately and rise quietly. And each time you do, you grow stronger, wiser, more resilient. That resilience is what separates the ones who give up from the ones who build legacies. So let the silence stretch. Let the loneliness stay. Use it, embrace it, transform it. Because what feels like isolation today will become independence tomorrow. What feels like sacrifice now will become strength later. And when you finally emerge, you will not be the same person who once feared being overlooked. You will be someone who cannot be overlooked. Do not fear the quiet. Do not fear the solitude. It is not the absence of progress. It is the foundation of it. It is the invisible work, the unseen grind, the lonely hours that no one claps for, that no one celebrates, that no one even notices. That is where greatness is born. And when the world finally sees what you have built, they will only see the results. But you will know the truth. You will know it was the silence, the patience, and the courage to stand alone that made you unstoppable. Every dream you carry demands a cost. That cost is not measured in money or luck. It is measured in discipline, sacrifice, and the courage to stay consistent when the excitement fades. Most people start with energy, but they do not last. They let emotions decide their effort. They only work when they feel inspired, only push when the path is easy, only stay focused when results come quickly. But real transformation belongs to those who show up regardless of how they feel. It belongs to those who treat their goals not as wishes but as obligations, promises they refuse to break. Discipline is the ultimate form of self-respect. It is choosing to do the work you said you would do, long after the mood you made that promise in has disappeared. And when you master discipline, you free yourself from the limits of emotion. You stop waiting for motivation to arrive, and you start becoming the kind of person who creates progress on demand. That power, the ability to act regardless of feeling, is what separates those who succeed quietly from those who only talk loudly about what they will do one day. Each act of discipline is a declaration. It says, I choose growth over comfort. I choose long-term gain over short-term ease. I choose to rise, even when no one is watching. And the more you honor that choice, the stronger you become. Because discipline compounds. Each time you stay consistent, you train your mind to trust yourself. You build proof that you are reliable, dependable, unshakable. And with enough proof, belief becomes unbreakable. The truth is, results do not come from what you do occasionally. They come from what you do consistently. 1 hour of focus may inspire you, but 1,000 hours of disciplined effort will transform you. That transformation cannot be faked, cannot be rushed, cannot be cheated. It must be earned in the silence of repetition, in the grind of practice, in the unglamorous hours that no one sees. That is the work most people avoid, and that is why most people never change. But you are not most people. You are not here to settle for average. You are not here to chase the illusion of effort without the reality of sacrifice. You are here to become something greater, and that requires discipline so strong it becomes your identity. You do not just practice discipline, you live it, you breathe it, you carry it into every decision, every habit, every choice. And soon, it is no longer about forcing yourself to work. It becomes natural, automatic, inevitable. That is the true reward of discipline. It transforms the hardest parts of the journey into second nature. It turns struggle into rhythm, sacrifice into routine. And once that shift happens, nothing can stop you. Because you are no longer waiting for the perfect mood or the right circumstances. You are no longer dependent on motivation. You have become unstoppable, because you have mastered the art of showing up no matter what. This is the quiet strength that builds unshakable lives. The discipline that others overlook, the patience that others lack, the consistency that others cannot sustain. This is what sets you apart. And when the results finally reveal themselves, when the growth finally becomes undeniable, the world will wonder how you did it, but you will know. You will know it was the discipline, the sacrifice, and the silence that made you unbreakable. The person you become through discipline is far more valuable than the results themselves. Achievements can be taken away. Recognition can fade, but character stays. Character is built in the unseen hours, in the moments when you choose perseverance over quitting, focus over distraction, and self-control over impulse. Every silent decision you make, every sacrifice you embrace, chisels away at the weaker version of you, and reveals the stronger one waiting beneath. This is the essence of transformation. It is not about chasing an outcome. It is about becoming the kind of person who can handle any outcome. When you train yourself to show up day after day, even when no one notices, you are not just building habits, you are building identity. You stop saying, I hope I can, and start saying, this is who I am. That shift is where power lives. Because once discipline is no longer an effort, but a part of who you are, the struggle loses its hold on you. It is no longer about forcing yourself to act. It is about aligning with the version of yourself that you have already claimed. That alignment makes you unstoppable. There will always be temptation to break your own promises. There will always be shortcuts disguised as opportunities, distractions disguised as obligations, excuses disguised as reasons. But each time you resist, each time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you strengthen your foundation. And a strong foundation cannot be shaken. It does not matter how heavy the storms of life become. If your core is disciplined, if your character is unshakable, you will endure. This is why focusing on yourself is not selfish but necessary. When you work on your own growth, when you commit to becoming stronger inside, you give yourself the ability to stand firm no matter what life throws at you. You cannot control the storms, but you can control your roots. You can control how prepared, how disciplined, and how resilient you become. That is the one power no one can take from you. And the reward for this work is more than just achievement. It is freedom. Freedom from dependence on other people's approval. Freedom from the weakness of giving in to every passing mood. Freedom from the limits that once held you down. You become free because you no longer need anything external to validate your progress. You know who you are. You know what you are capable of. You know that the life you are building is not luck or chance, but the product of your own relentless focus. That freedom gives you confidence. Not the loud kind that demands attention, but the quiet kind that cannot be shaken. It shows in the way you walk, in the way you speak, in the way you carry yourself without apology. It is a confidence rooted not in what you have, but in who you have become. And when you reach that point, the world begins to notice. Not because you asked for their recognition, but because your transformation is undeniable. This is the power of working in silence, of choosing yourself, of building character through discipline. It is not just about changing what you do, it is about changing who you are. And once you change who you are, the rest of your life cannot help but change with you. True transformation is not built in sudden leaps, but in steady steps repeated with unwavering consistency. It is not one grand act of courage that changes everything. It is the daily choice to keep moving, even when the progress feels invisible, even when the weight feels unbearable, even when no one else believes in what you are building. The greatest victories are born from persistence, the decision to endure, the refusal to quit when everything inside you whispers that it would be easier to stop. Persistence is a force stronger than talent, stronger than intelligence, stronger than luck. Talent may give you a head start, but persistence carries you to the finish. Intelligence may give you clever plans, but persistence executes them long after the excitement fades. Luck may open a door, but persistence is what keeps you walking through door after door, refusing to let setbacks define you. Every time you keep going when it would be easier to stop, you forge a strength inside yourself that no circumstance can destroy. Most people underestimate how close they are when they quit. They surrender at the very edge of breakthrough because they are tired, because they are impatient, because the results did not come fast enough to satisfy their ego. But persistence teaches you patience. It teaches you that the process will always test you before it rewards you. And those who endure the test, who keep moving through the silence and the setbacks, are the ones who rise to levels others only dream about. The quiet grind, the unseen hours, the discipline no one else applauds, those are not wasted. They are accumulating like drops of water, slowly filling the reservoir of your future. And when it overflows, it will look sudden to the world, but you will know the truth. You will know it was persistence, the countless days of refusing to give in, that created the flood of success they now see. This is why persistence is so rare. It requires faith, faith that your effort matters even when results are invisible, faith that the process is shaping you even when you feel unchanged, faith that every step forward, no matter how small, is carrying you closer to the life you are building. Without faith, persistence feels like punishment. But with faith, persistence becomes power. And the more you persist, the more your identity strengthens. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and start seeing yourself as someone who never quits. That identity reshapes every decision, every action, every response to challenge. It makes you dangerous to failure, because failure only wins against those who stop. If you refuse to stop, failure has no power. This is what it means to truly focus on yourself, to build the patience and persistence that most people lack, to keep climbing when others let go, to remain faithful to your vision even in silence, even in solitude, even in doubt. That persistence becomes your armor, your strength, your defining edge, and once you carry it, nothing, not rejection, not delay, not failure, can stop you from becoming the person you were always meant to be. Every time you persist, you are proving to yourself that you are stronger than the circumstances trying to break you. You are reminding yourself that you are not defined by how fast results come, but by how deeply you are willing to endure the process that shapes them. Endurance is not weakness. Endurance is the ultimate expression of strength. It is the ability to remain standing when everything around you tries to knock you down. It is the choice to keep walking when the path stretches endlessly and no reward is in sight. That choice builds resilience, and resilience is what transforms ordinary lives into extraordinary ones. Resilience is not something you are born with. It is something you create. It is sculpted in the trials you survive, in the disappointments you recover from, in the storms you refuse to let drown you. Every time you fall and rise again, Every time you stumble but refuse to stay down, you are building resilience. And the more resilient you become, the more unshakable your life becomes. Challenges stop being walls that trap you and start becoming weights that strengthen you. You begin to see obstacles not as reasons to quit, but as opportunities to rise higher. This shift in perspective is everything, because life will never stop testing you. There will always be setbacks, losses, and moments that make you question your strength. But once you have trained resilience, once you have conditioned yourself to keep moving no matter what, those tests lose their power. You stop being surprised by struggle. You start expecting it, preparing for it, even welcoming it, because you know every storm that comes is only another chance to prove how far you have come. When you focus on yourself and your growth, resilience becomes your foundation. You are no longer at the mercy of moods or circumstances. You no longer collapse at the first sign of resistance. You begin to carry yourself differently, with the quiet certainty of someone who has faced battles and walked out stronger. That certainty cannot be bought. It cannot be faked. It can only be earned in the fire of persistence and the silence of resilience. And this strength does more than protect you. It liberates you. It frees you from the fear of failure because you no longer see failure as the end. It frees you from the fear of rejection because you understand rejection is redirection. It frees you from the fear of struggle because you recognize struggle as a gift. This freedom allows you to live boldly, to chase your dreams with full force, to stop holding back in fear of the inevitable challenges ahead. The resilient do not wait for life to be easy. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They build strength so they can walk confidently into imperfect conditions and thrive anyway. And that is what you are doing now. You are no longer waiting for the world to hand you clarity, or certainty, or comfort. You are creating your own strength, your own clarity, your own future. Resilience makes you untouchable. Not because pain will never reach you, but because pain will never stop you. Not because storms will never come, but because storms will never sink you. You will bend but not break, stumble but not fall, be challenged but never conquered. And that is what makes you powerful beyond measure. The refusal to stay down, the refusal to stop, the refusal to surrender when your destiny demands you rise. Strength without direction is wasted energy. Resilience without purpose is motion without progress. The power you are building inside yourself must be guided by clarity, by a vision so strong that it pulls you forward even when your body wants to rest, even when your mind wants to quit. Without a vision, effort feels heavy. With a vision, effort feels meaningful. And when your life has meaning, no obstacle can overpower you. Clarity is what transforms discipline into destiny. When you know why you are waking up early, why you are working in silence, why you are saying no to distractions, the sacrifices stop feeling like losses. They begin to feel like investments. Every hour, every ounce of energy, every choice that others don't understand is no longer a burden. It becomes fuel. And that fuel carries you past the doubts, past the delays, past the discouragement that once would have stopped you. The reason most people give up is not because the journey is too hard, but because they forgot why they started. They lose sight of the vision. They allow the weight of struggle to blind them from the bigger picture. But when your vision is clear, when you hold it close, when you feed it with daily reminders, it becomes impossible to quit. You will still feel pain, but the vision makes the pain worth it. You will still feel tired, but the vision makes the effort necessary. You will still face rejection, but the vision makes rejection irrelevant. This is why you must protect your vision with everything you have. Do not share with people who will mock it. Do not expose it to those who cannot see it. Your vision does not need their approval. It only needs your commitment. And the stronger your commitment, the stronger the vision becomes. It begins to live inside you like fire, and that fire will guide you when the path feels dark. When you live with vision, you no longer chase everything. You focus on what matters. You no longer drown in distractions. You prioritize with clarity. You no longer waste energy seeking acceptance. You devote energy to execution. And little by little, your life begins to shift. What once felt overwhelming becomes purposeful. What once felt meaningless becomes powerful. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. That is the magic of vision. It makes persistence possible. It makes resilience sustainable. It makes discipline unshakable. Without it, you will drift. With it, you will rise. And the world cannot stop someone who is clear on where they are going, who is willing to sacrifice for it, and who refuses to stop until it is real. Your vision is your compass, your anchor, your engine. It is not a fantasy. It is a blueprint. Every action you take, every habit you build, every choice you make in silence is another brick laid on the foundation of that vision. And one day, the world will see the structure you have been building. They will admire it, they will respect it, but they will never fully understand the silent hours, the unseen sacrifices, the relentless clarity it took to build. Only you will know. Only you will understand the fire that carried you, and that fire will never leave, because once you learn to live with vision, you never live without it again. A clear vision does more than guide your steps. It changes the way you see yourself. The moment you know exactly what you want, you stop living like a passenger and start living like the driver of your own life. That shift is powerful, because once you see yourself as someone capable of creating, building, and achieving, you begin to carry yourself differently. You stop waiting for permission. You stop hesitating at opportunities. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You rise with certainty, because your vision reminds you that you were never meant to stay small. This self-image becomes the foundation of everything. The world cannot believe in you until you believe in yourself. Opportunities cannot open for you until you decide you are worthy of walking through them. Growth cannot happen until you stop identifying with who you were and start claiming who you are becoming. And this is why focusing on yourself is so critical. It is not about ignoring the world, it is about reshaping the way you show up in it. The way you see yourself sets the limits of your potential, and when you change that vision, the limits disappear. Most people sabotage themselves not because they lack talent, but because they cling to an identity that no longer serves them. They keep replaying the past. They keep labeling themselves with old failures. They keep carrying the weight of mistakes that should have been lessons. But your past does not define you, it prepares you. Every failure was a teacher. Every disappointment was a guide. Every struggle was a seed. And the moment you decide to stop wearing your past as a prison, you unlock the power to create a future beyond what you thought possible. Your identity must align with your vision. If you see yourself as weak, you will act weak. If you see yourself as unworthy, you will settle. If you see yourself as average, you will never push beyond mediocrity. But if you begin to see yourself as powerful, disciplined, and unshakable, your actions will rise to match that belief. You will no longer tolerate habits that hold you back. You will no longer accept excuses from yourself. You will no longer waste energy proving your worth to others, because your actions will prove it for you. This is not arrogance. This is ownership. It is stepping into the truth that your life belongs to you, that your dreams are valid, that your potential is limitless if you are willing to claim it. And claiming it begins with deciding who you are. Not who the world says you are, not who your past suggests you are, but who you choose to become. That choice is everything. And the beauty is, once you shift your self-image, the world begins to shift with you. People treat you differently because you carry yourself differently. Opportunities appear because you position yourself with clarity and confidence. Challenges shrink because you face them with strength instead of fear. It all begins with the way you see yourself. You must protect that new identity as fiercely as you protect your vision. Guard it from doubt, from negativity, from the voices that try to pull you back into smallness. Because once you truly see yourself as capable, disciplined, and worthy, nothing can chain you to your old life again. That self-belief, fueled by vision and strengthened by discipline, is what makes transformation unstoppable. When you step into a new identity, your standards begin to rise. What once felt acceptable no longer satisfies you. The habits that kept you stagnant lose their grip, and the excuses that once felt reasonable sound hollow in your ears. You begin to demand more from yourself, not out of pressure, but out of alignment with who you are becoming. This is the quiet evolution of a person who has chosen to make themselves a priority. They no longer tolerate mediocrity, because mediocrity has no place in the life they are building. Rising standards are not about arrogance or superiority, they are about integrity. They are about making sure your actions match your vision, that your daily behavior reflects the person you claim to be. If you say you are disciplined, your habits must prove it. If you say you are focused, your choices must confirm it. Words are empty without action, and action is empty without consistency. When your standards rise, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop excusing failure to follow through. You hold yourself accountable, because you know that every compromise chips away at the person you are becoming. This accountability is powerful. It builds a deep trust within yourself, a trust stronger than any external validation. You stop needing others to believe in you, because you have undeniable proof in your own behavior. Every day you honor your standards, you reinforce the truth that you can rely on yourself, that reliability is rare, and it makes you unstoppable. Because when you trust yourself completely, nothing outside of you can shake your foundation. But this shift also requires courage. The courage to let go of what no longer serves you. The courage to distance yourself from people, habits, and environments that pull you back into smallness. The courage to say no, even when saying yes would keep you comfortable. Growth always requires sacrifice, and raising your standards means leaving behind the parts of your life that no longer align with your future. That loss can feel heavy, but it is never permanent. What you let go of creates space for what is meant for you. The more you honor your standards, the more momentum you build. Each day becomes proof that you are not who you once were. Each choice strengthens your belief that you are stepping into greatness. And soon, the gap between your past self and your present self becomes so wide that you cannot imagine returning to who you used to be. That is transformation. It is not sudden, it is not dramatic. It is the quiet accumulation of choices made at a higher level, repeated until they become who you are. This is why your standards matter. They shape your environment, your habits, your results. They define the line between who you were and who you are becoming. And when you raise that line high enough, your entire life rises with it. Because you no longer settle, you no longer compromise, you no longer delay your own progress to appease others. You live aligned, you live focused, and you live with a sense of power that cannot be taken away. The moment you commit to higher standards, everything changes. You don't just chase success, you embody it. You don't just dream of change, you live it. And once you experience that alignment, once you know what it feels like to live at a higher level, you will never go back to settling again. Discipline becomes the force that protects the standards you have set. Without discipline, even the strongest vision collapses under the weight of distraction and temptation. But with discipline, you create an armor around your progress, a shield that keeps you moving forward no matter what pulls at you. Discipline is not about punishment. It is about freedom. It frees you from the chaos of inconsistency. It frees you from the regret of procrastination. It frees you from living a life controlled by moods, excuses, and impulses. Discipline gives you control, and control gives you power. Every day, life will test your commitment. There will be mornings when you feel too tired to get up, too drained to push forward, too overwhelmed to keep going. This is where discipline speaks louder than emotion. Emotions fluctuate. Motivation rises and falls. Inspiration can fade. But discipline does not waver. Discipline is a decision, repeated until it becomes identity. It is the voice inside you that says, I move forward, no matter how I feel. And that voice is what separates those who dream from those who achieve. The truth is, discipline is a form of self-respect. When you keep your promises to yourself, you prove that your word has value. You show yourself that your goals matter, that your vision matters, that your life matters. And when you respect yourself at that level, you stop tolerating excuses, both from yourself and from others. You stop living small because you refuse to betray your potential. That self-respect becomes the fuel that keeps you steady, even when the road feels endless. Discipline also creates momentum. Every time you follow through, you build confidence. Every time you push past resistance, you gain strength. Every time you silence excuses, you reinforce the identity of someone unstoppable. This momentum compounds. At first, it feels heavy, but soon it becomes natural. The things that once drained you become effortless. The tasks that once felt impossible become part of your rhythm. This is the reward of discipline. It transforms struggle into strength. But you must understand, discipline thrives in silence. The greatest progress often happens when no one is watching. It happens in the hours of unseen effort, in the moments where you resist the easy path, in the choices you make when no one else will know. That silence is where discipline is tested most, because there is no applause, no recognition, no immediate reward. Yet those silent victories are the foundation of everything visible. The discipline you build in the dark will shine in the light, and with every disciplined choice, you shift the story you tell yourself. No longer are you someone who quits halfway. No longer are you someone who waits for the perfect mood or the right moment. You become someone who acts regardless, someone who follows through, someone who creates results not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. That identity is unbreakable because it was forged in resistance, strengthened in silence, and proven through consistency. Discipline is not a cage. It is a key. It unlocks the doors to freedom, success, and fulfillment. Without it, you remain stuck in cycles of frustration, starting over and over again. With it, you rise beyond limits, because you no longer rely on fleeting emotions to carry you. You rely on commitment, and commitment will always take you further than comfort. This is the essence of power, to do what must be done, even when you don't feel like doing it, and once you master that, nothing can stop you. When you build discipline, you begin to understand the value of patience. Patience is not about waiting. It is about trusting the process, even when the results are not immediate. It is the strength to keep working when the world shows you nothing in return. Most people give up not because the dream is impossible, but because they are unwilling to endure the silence between effort and reward. That silence is where champions are made. It is where persistence separates itself from wishful thinking. Patience is an act of faith in yourself. It says, I believe in the seeds I am planting, even if I cannot yet see them grow. Every great transformation requires time. Muscles don't grow overnight. Skills don't sharpen in a week. Character doesn't strengthen in a moment. True change is gradual, often invisible, and always demanding. But while others quit because they cannot see progress, the patient ones keep going, and one day the results that seemed far away appear all at once. The world constantly tempts you to chase speed, quick fixes, shortcuts, instant gratification. They promise everything and deliver nothing. They keep you trapped in cycles of disappointment because they skip the one ingredient that makes success lasting: patience. Without patience, you abandon your journey the moment it becomes uncomfortable. Without patience, you never see the fruits of your labor. But with patience, you learn to trust that consistency always pays off, even when life tries to convince you otherwise. Patience also gives you clarity. When you slow down enough to trust the process, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop rushing to meet someone else's timeline. You stop resenting where you are because you realize every step, even the small ones, is progress. Comparison fades when you understand that your path is yours alone. Patience allows you to measure growth not by speed, but by depth. Not by what you show others, but by what you become within. And patience builds resilience. The longer you stay the course, the stronger you grow in the face of setbacks. Failure no longer feels like the end. It becomes a lesson. Obstacles no longer discourage you. They prepare you. Delays no longer frustrate you. They remind you that everything valuable takes time. Patience transforms hardship into training, setbacks into fuel, and struggles into stepping stones. Every time you practice patience, you reinforce the belief that your future is worth the wait. But patience is not passive. It does not mean standing still. It means working hard without demanding instant results. It means planting the seed, watering it daily, and refusing to dig it up just because you don't see growth yet. The effort is yours to control. The timing belongs to life. And the reward always arrives for those who refuse to quit midway. Patience is proof that you trust your own strength. It shows that you are not controlled by impulses or fears. It shows that you are willing to suffer through the slow seasons because you know they are shaping you. When you embody patience, you stop being desperate for recognition. You stop needing validation. You become steady, unshaken, and focused. The world cannot rush you, because you know that success built slowly is success that lasts forever. And once you master patience, you unlock the kind of power that no quick result can ever match. Silence becomes your greatest weapon when you learn to value patience. In a noisy world where everyone is rushing to announce their progress, your choice to stay quiet gives you strength others cannot understand. Silence protects your energy. It shields you from the distractions of approval and the traps of comparison. When you work in silence, you are free to focus entirely on the task, not the performance. You are no longer wasting energy trying to prove yourself. You are using every ounce of it to build yourself. The most powerful transformations often happen out of sight. Roots grow deep before branches ever break the surface. A fire gains its strength long before the smoke is seen. Your growth works the same way. The unseen effort, the private sacrifices, the discipline no one claps for, those are the very things that make you unshakable. If you can embrace the silence of growth, you will one day stand before the world with results that cannot be ignored. Silence also keeps you humble. It reminds you that the journey is not about impressing others, but about building something real within yourself. Many people announce their goals loudly, seeking praise before they have even begun. They mistake words for progress. They confuse attention with achievement, but when you remain silent, you carry your dream close to your chest. You let action, not talk, define you. And when the results arrive, they speak louder than any words ever could. The quiet path is not easy. It requires resisting the temptation to show proof of your progress just to feel validated. It requires holding back from explaining yourself to people who may never understand your vision. It requires enduring the doubt of others who cannot see what you are building. But silence sharpens you. It forces you to trust yourself when no applause comes. It forces you to develop strength that does not rely on external encouragement. It makes you relentless, because you learn that the only approval you truly need is your own. Silence also cultivates focus. Without the noise of opinions, judgments, and expectations, you can hear your own voice more clearly. You can listen to your intuition, your values, your vision. You stop bending to the demands of others and begin to build according to your own design. In silence, you create alignment. You begin to live a life that is not scattered or fragmented, but whole, purposeful, and deeply connected to who you are. And silence creates impact. When you hold back from broadcasting every step, your results arrive like a shockwave. People who doubted you cannot ignore what you have become. Those who underestimated you are forced to recognize your strength. The silence you endured turns into the roar of your achievement. And the beauty is, you never needed to shout in the first place. Your work, your discipline, your transformation, they speak for you. Choosing silence is an act of power. It means you are no longer chasing recognition because you know recognition will eventually chase you. It means you are no longer enslaved to the need for validation because you have validated yourself through consistent action. Silence means freedom. The freedom to grow without judgment, to fall without ridicule, to rise without limits. And when you embrace it fully, you realize that working hard in silence is not weakness. It is the purest expression of strength. It is the mark of someone who knows exactly where they are going and refuses to stop until they arrive.